We're live, we're live. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever the hell you are in the world, and welcome to Stargate Live, Stargate Sunday. Woo! Say hello, gentlemen.
Howdy, howdy.
No, I said, say hello, gentlemen.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello, gentlemen.
And gentle ladies.
Hello, gentlemen. Right, we get to do our start. Matthew did us a lovely start and intro for this, and we've not got to use it yet, but here we go. That's it. Anyway, so welcome to Stargate Sunday, where once a month we talk everything Stargate. Guys, get into the comments. Tell us what you want us to talk about. Hey, Shelley's in the house. Whoop! And Jake's in the house, and a couple of other people. So Kerry M, who's very, very excited, who is our newest moderator. So thank you, Kerry, for being with us. So, right, this week has been a bit interesting because I dropped the video earlier in the week about this plot summary that has been leaked to me through MGM, the Bad Robot plot summary. So, guys, first of all, what did you roughly think, or should we just start breaking it down?
I hated it.
Yes or no? Hated it.
I hated it. I absolutely hated it.
Yeah, me too.
If I could punch the screen and not break things, that's what I would do. I hated it.
That much? Do you actually violently hate it?
Yeah. I think it's a cop-out. The storyline that they're deciding to go down. I think it's... I can kind of get on board with the switch in actors because Kurt Russell was O'Neill in the first place, so I can kind of get on board with that. But no, just overall, no, I hate it. I don't think it makes sense more than anything. Like it wouldn't, like the good old Ra still being alive. We would have known about that. Like he can't just hide.
No.
Indiana Jones had a nuclear weapon to the face, and he just hid in a fridge, and he survived. And he was fine, and we were all okay with that.
But were we?
If they got around it with maybe the idea that he was in the sarcophagus when he blew up, then he could survive that way. But we saw him out of the sarcophagus getting destroyed. So,
we saw him melt. Yeah, it makes no sense. From a producer's, the movie maker's point of view, I can completely understand where they've pulled this idea from. But we've seen it a million times. I said it in the first video. It's very formulaic. They're going to a formula here. It's very much. It
reminds me of Independence Day, the second Independence Day. They just brought back the same villain, and it was 20 years later.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the same thing. They're just doing the same. But that didn't work either. That was crap.
Bye, Matthew.
I was like, uh-oh.
It's just gonna.
Yeah, I'm sure that was a really good point. We didn't get it, but I'm sure it was a really good point. So,
did it lag?
A little bit. So, my first question then for you guys, and guys in the audience and the audience in the comments, please tell me the same as well. Kurt Russell over Richard Dean Anderson. That's the first thing we've got to get out of this. And now I want you to, when we're asking these questions, I want you to put yourself in the mindset of the fan, but also put your mindset of the people actually making the movie. So Amazon putting up $150 million to make this film. Matt, Kurt Russell or Richard Dean Anderson as a fan?
As a fan, I would always pick RDA because he has played the role for way longer and the character was expanded because of him. But I see why they might want to do Kurt Russell, and I'm fine with either. But I would prefer Richard.
As an executive, though, which would you go for?
I mean, as an executive, you probably would go for Kurt Russell, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think so. How about you, Harris? As a fan, RDA or Kurt Russell?
Oh, RDA all day. I honestly, I prefer Kurt Russell at the end of the day, just as a general actor. But for Stargate, RDA all day.
Yeah. But if you're an executive signing the check,
RDA. He spent 10, 15, 18 years in the role. Kurt Russell doesn't know the character anymore. Kurt Russell would have to do a year and a half's worth of homework just to get back into the character, where RDA can just hop right back into it. All he needs to do is get in a little bit of shape. RDA is arguably not just as famous as Kurt Russell in any way, but he's just as many faces around the globe have seen him. He was a MacGyver for almost a decade prior to a decade of Stargate, decade and a half of Stargate. He is just as much
a movie star, though, mate. He's never
been much a movie star, but people know him, and people would still go. At least the entire Stargate fan base would be in seats for that. Yeah. And if that fan base is there, word of mouth will be just hopefully great from there. If the movie's good, of course.
Yeah.
The problem with Kurt Russell being Jack again is, as Harris just said, he's a completely different character. So he'll be drawing on the experience that he had when he played Jack O'Neill back in the original movie, but that character has developed a ton. Like, he's no longer the depressed guy going on a suicide mission because his son died. He's grown as a person, as a character. So much has happened. Are we essentially gonna get the movie O'Neill back, or is it gonna be a play of, basically, is it gonna be how Michael Shanks did James Spader in SG-1 for the first half of the season, where he done a James Spader impression? Is that what Kurt Russell was essentially going to do with Richard Dean Anderson, or is it going to be what he was originally? Which, if he's going to do the original character, I think shits on the franchise.
It slaps Richard Dean Anderson in the face, who did it for 10 years.
Well, this might be your very next question, but you brought it up, Matt. Would James Spader come back, or are we going to have Michael Shanks? Because James Spader, yes, he was in Avengers: Age of Ultron, but ask how many people actually know that. So realistically, he's been levied into a TV star. He's not a movie star anymore either. He's a TV star. Michael Shanks is a TV star. Who wins that battle there? And then that, of course, could cause so much more commotion, depending on RDA, Kurt Russell, etc.
I mean, that hasn't been discussed, as far as I know, with this with this pitch. But James Spader's TV show, The Blacklist, has just been cancelled. After 10 years, though, they really shouldn't call it being cancelled after 10 years. They should just go, oh, bloody hell, you've done amazing, well done. But they're about to do the final season, so there's that. I love James Spader. I think he's great. I watched Age of Ultron on Thursday, and all the way through, you just every little mannerism of Ultron, you just go, oh, my James Spader's amazing.
He's good.
But yeah, I mean, the only way I would not complain about Richard Dean Anderson or Michael Shanks really not coming back is if they don't want to, right? Which I did say on the Stargate Sides video. I think we'll struggle getting Richard Dean Anderson to come back. I think if Brad was in charge, I think he could have talked him into it, but he wouldn't do much. He'd do a few little cameos. I think it's more likely if they go a completely different way, Richard Dean Anderson won't want anything to do with it. In which case, bring Kurt Russell back for the movie, kill him off. I don't really mind. I think it would be. I can see why they've done it from an executive's point of view, because it would be, Gators would be like, the fuck? What just happened? Sort of thing. But also symbolically, it's a nice move into the next movie. You know, it really is a right. Stargate, as you know, it is done. New franchise, we're going, this way. So I can, and as executive, I completely understand why they're doing this, or why they thought of it as a good idea. As a Gator, I'm like, you are fucking mental. Richard Dean Anderson is O'Neill. What the hell are you thinking?
The only problem I can see, or one of the big problems I can see, is in the script, Jack dies.
Yeah.
So if Richard Dean Anderson plays it, that's a nice send-off for his character. But if Kurt Russell plays it, it means we're never going to see Richard Dean Anderson again.
Yeah. I think it would have been a really nice goodbye to Richard Dean Anderson. I think it would.
Well, and if he's going to die in the film anyway, why wouldn't RDA come back and play him? How would that be difficult to get him? I guess he'd have to get in shape and do all these different things, but
he's been getting in shape for the last.
That's what I was going to say. He's been getting there, so. Well, and thinking about it, I guess, as an executive from Amazon, they are trying to cut costs in a lot of ways. Kurt Russell's a lot more expensive than RDA, and you do have a solidified base of people that will go to that theater no matter what. If RDA is there, still, I don't know if it's more cost proficient or not to get Kurt Russell.
The other thing is, if you believe the rumor about that guy whose name's now gone completely out of my head, the guy from Top Gun Maverick recently, apparently apparently there's rumors that he's the movie star, isn't he? So RDA would appease us. We'd be very, very happy. The executives have still got a movie star to put on the poster. And he's the guy that then will be taking the franchise forwards, in theory. So maybe that's the best of both worlds, and maybe that's where they're going. I don't know if that is part of this thing, though. Like I say, this pitch was done in October or very early November, apparently. So I heard about this other fella. This is like late December, early January. Apparently, he was approached. So that could be based on something completely different that we don't know about yet. Got to remember, I only get snapshots of what's going on at MGM. I don't get the full picture. So, I mean, I get a lot more than most people, but I don't get the whole picture. So I just know that one of these days, I mean, I talk about every possibility and every rumor that comes out, and when it gets announced, it's going to be something completely different. I'm going to be like, I didn't hear that. Who told me that? But anyway, so we mentioned bringing back Ra really quickly. I mean, I think we're all in agreement. Bringing back Ra just doesn't make sense. And again, from an executive point of view, MGM Stargate, 10th highest grossing movie of all time. Can you understand them maybe trying to bring something from that movie back into the new movie as a gateway into a new series?
It's
I don't
too
think you have
old.
to bring back the original character, though. The whole point of Stargate was about mythology. You could bring someone else from a different mythology in. It doesn't have to be Ra. Ra's dead. All the Egyptian gods are dead.
Yeah.
There could be other Goa'uld. Like, I've always liked the idea that although like the system lords have been destroyed, they're all dead. There are still Goa'uld out there. Obviously, they're not. They didn't commit genocide, so they could be like another one rise to power at some point in the future. That's a route they could have gone down.
Yeah,
and it's a villain. The loose Stargate fans know. I think that's the reason why they've done it. The peripheral fans or the people that just watch the movie and never really watch the series, they know this villain. And I think again that's why they've done it. And I think it is so unimaginative. Sorry, I'm just gonna have to put that on. That is so funny.
She-Ra.
Pick up a flower in less than an hour. She-Ra. But I think it's just, I think it's lazy. I think it's stupid. And again, the risk they've got is, I think, with a lot of these plans, they might appease the peripheral person, but they're going to piss off gators. You know what I mean? It's like 90% of the people are going to watch this film have watched the series, and it's going. But I mean, the hardcore gators, though, the people that actually watch this channel, people actually come on here, and the guys in the subscription at the moment, in the comments at the moment, are going to be really, really annoyed by this. The only way I think they could do this is if he says he's Ra, and then later on in the movie we find out it's not him, and he's an imposter or something. But I mean, even that
makes sense. But yeah, that's still stretching it.
It's just crap. It's stupid. But anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it was Ra, why would he have followers? Why would he have Jafar when essentially the entire Jafar nation is now free and they know that they're false gods and the whole of the system lord hierarchy's been dismantled? Why, if Ra came back, would they all of a sudden bow down? They revolt. It would never happen. Yeah. They would just he'd come in and he'd be like, I'm Ra, I'm your god, and he'd be like, mate, it's been 10 years. You've been dead. All your mates are dead. Like, jog on. Like,
I can't believe it's every time he's bow down to your god. It's like everything. It's what I would do every time if I was to go old and let go of my staff weapon. Says, go over there and do this. Right. So a movie at all. So just before, about an hour before the live, I did a very quick short just saying, hey guys, we're going live in an hour. Well done for noticing and appearing, guys. And I just said, what do you think? Yes or no? Movie. It's a bit split. Heket says no movie. That's going to screw things up. Gone fishing. It might be nice as an introduction to the new film. Angela, yes. LG McG, yes. Frazetto, 100% no. Just bring us a new series. Don't mess around. Silver Speed, yes. So it's pretty 50-50. What do you guys think? Is a movie the best way to kickstart a new franchise?
I like the idea, but like what we've been talking about, are they going to make it more for the peripheral group of people, or are they going to make it for Stargate fans? Because I think it's pretty pivotal that they have to at least appease, and more so than just appease, we need to be satiated as Stargate fans with whatever project they release first, because that's going to set them up, and they want that base of fans they already have to be excited, to be, okay, this is back. A little new and a little different, but it's back. That's what we kind of want. And are they going to deliver that? Or are they going to deliver peripheral? Oh, this would be good for anybody and everybody, and that's always good. But how formulaic and how generic can something be compared to what we all know and love and have known and love for a while now?
100%. What do you think, Matt? Is it a good way to kickstart a franchise?
I like the idea of a movie, but I just don't know how they could tell a story that honors the TV show and the original movie as well, because that's obviously part of the canon, in a way that's not going to be like something didn't happen. Like they're gonna ruin it. They're gonna piss on one portion of it. Like, so whether it's something that happened in SG1, SGA, whatever. I honestly think a TV show would be better, because then it can actually continue what's already happened. But I know at the same time a movie would bring in a lot more attention. But it's just the logistics. Like, how are you going to do it without pissing someone off?
Do you know, I think the main risk with a movie, and it's why I genuinely don't want them to go the movie route. I only keep talking about it because it's what I keep hearing. A lot of people in the comments do need to remember as well that when I talk about something, it's because of what I'm being told. It's not my opinion. Stop attacking me for saying so. Like, people do seem to think that the whole bad robot thing is my fault. Like, not my fault.
Is it not?
Jay is bad robot.
I wasn't involved.
You're J.J. Abrams' secretary?
No. So no, not me. No comprende. No comprende, bad robot. But I think the biggest risk with a movie is if it bombs. If they do a movie, $150 million movie, and it doesn't do very well, and the cinema at the moment, it's a Wild West. It's like God knows what's going to happen. If they do a Stargate movie and it even just breaks even, it doesn't have to bomb, just not do well, it kills the franchise. Dead, done.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest worry. I know a TV show done even reasonably well will do okay. And it'll cost 10 hours of television will cost half what the movie will cost. They're looking at 10 hours of TV would cost $70 to $80 million. A movie will cost at least $150 million. So that's my biggest risk. That's the thing that keeps me up at night. I do like that going, okay. What if they do a movie and it's shit? That's what I genuinely do sometimes. That's the fear for me.
So
I think if they do a movie, it would be shit, because of everything I've said. Like, when they make a movie, they're going to want to appeal to a broad range of people. So people who have watched the original movie, people who maybe have seen a little bit of SG1 and SGA, whatever, but they want to appeal to a large group of people and have the story make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to have to do something that either ignores a large portion of the TV series, or have something very quick which explains things but doesn't explain it properly, and it just ends up being shit. That's the worry. But then obviously, like I say, if it then bombs, the chances of a TV show are going to be like 0.
Yeah.
Because they'll be like, well, it didn't perform well in the cinema. Why would it perform well on TV? Well, because you made a movie about it, you didn't continue the series. That's why it was shit.
So what if they met him in the middle? Because Tor Hudson in the comment section just had a good idea of what if they did it like a 2-hour episode for the first episode, and then dive into the series. They could Star Wars: The Clone Wars, whenever it was released as a series, released a film called Star Wars: The Clone Wars that was literally the first 3 episodes. It was just the first arc of the TV series placed into it. I guess that is a little different because they released it strictly as a film, but you could release this as a very low budget film, like a 2-hour episode. Has maybe, if it's a $10 million budget for a TV episode for about an hour, make it 20. And then you got a 2-hour film that isn't some crazy thing, but you can put it in theaters and then have it as part of the series as well to kind of bridge that gap maybe. I don't know, save Amazon a couple bucks.
If we right, at the moment, this I said in the last video, it's the people I speak to are telling me it's very, very unlikely that Bad Robot are going to get this for the reasons I talked about in the Sci-trek Sides video, which we can go on, which I can repeat if people want me to. But so I'm being told it's very unlikely, but it's still possible. This is still in the mix. All right. If we hopefully that the negotiations between MGM and Penguin and the Parker get crack on and they make the TV show. My worry is that they're in no rush to get the TV show sorted because they're going to make a movie first. So in which case they actually don't need to worry about it, sort of thing. But anyway, do we want Bad Robot to do a movie and then Penguin and a Parker to develop the series? For me, that's the worst thing they could do. It's just,
because then you've got a problem with Canon because you've got 2 things going on.
Yeah.
So Bad Robot will have their ideas of what should happen in a movie, but obviously Fergus and Otsby, they've got their Bible. They know how a series should continue.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be disjointed, isn't it?
That's
the problem.
Well, it would work fine if they had a Kevin Feige. Or if they had Brad Wright back, honestly, not just to toss his name up in there again, but he would be a great Feige-esque guy, even if he's not completely and utterly in charge to guide the path of the overarching story of both.
Yeah.
If they went down more of a Marvel style, how they do their movies and TV shows, where they do actually interconnect, and everything that's happened in the TV shows happened in the movies and vice versa, that will be better, but how do you write a Stargate movie that again honors everything that's happened before and lets casual viewers understand what's going on? That's where you're going to come unstuck.
I think you can do a standalone movie that is just because it's a big enough universe. They can just do a story that doesn't talk about everything else. So don't talk about BC 306s. Don't talk about the Jaffa. Don't talk about whatever. Just do a very focused story that still has the Stargate in it and still blah, blah, blah. An SG team on a world, bad guy, blah, blah, blah. Craziness happens. I just don't think it'll appease Gators. I think Gators will be upset. I think, put it this way, the Star Trek movies that J.J. Abrams did, I've said this a million times. They're good films. They're entertaining movies, but they're not Star Trek. They're Star Trek by name only. Is there a risk that if Bad Robot do this and they have to go that way, that it has to be sort of standalone? Or even if they do it hand in hand with Penguin and a Parker, it's still going to have to be standalone. That it will be a good, entertaining movie, just not Stargate.
If it was purely standalone, maybe, but still just like like you said, the Jaffa. Why couldn't we have a Jaffa movie? Could we just have a Teal'c movie and screw all trying to figure out if RDA or Kurt Russell's coming back? Just give Teal'c a movie, have him doing something, leading the Jaffa now. I mean, why not? Chris Judge is a big star right now. Get him to do a little God of War, get him to do a little this and some promo, and you're all set. But be cheaper, I guess. There's a lot of different angles they could take, which would be fun. But are they going to get that base reinvigorated? I guess.
I love that idea. I love that. Why not do a Jaffa movie?
Wow.
As well, I would argue that sci-fi is on a bit of a decline at the moment, and there aren't any big sci-fi shows seeming to be being made at the moment. Star Wars and Star Trek still go. I mean, new sci-fi shows. It seems
Stranger Things.
Well,
Biggest show in the world.
That's a show from 8-9 years ago. Then it started. Fantasy seems to be. If you look at what's being greenlit for next year and the next couple of years, it seems to be fantasy. You could almost set a Jaffa movie up like a fantasy movie.
Go Star Wars, make it a little space fantasy like.
It's like it's a fantasy film. Honestly, it's not sci-fi. It's fantasy. Go okay.
All right.
And we see Teal'c go off on a quest sort of thing. Why not?
Sailing the skies or sailing space and going off doing some cool voyage or something.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The Jaffa are more like that, though. I know they've got the staff weapons with but they're more like Klingons. They're more like, swords and things. And I don't know. That's just an idea off the top of my head, but it's a way of tricking people. I don't know.
We're going back to you mentioned Trek movies. So the movies that that's the Kelvin timeline, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're very separate to, we'll say, Discovery, Picard, and everything that's already happening now. The lines have
been a bit blurred. No, the lines have become a bit blurred, mate. To be honest.
See, the way I would have accepted it would have been if they released a movie and it was similar to the Kelvin timeline, entertaining movies, as you said, but then a series came along and it wasn't really connected because it was like an alternate timeline story kind of thing. That would be fine, ish. I mean, I would still be like, well, what about this character, that, and then we'd have to wait for an answer when the actual series come out. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of ways to like this.
Yeah. Just alternate realities get dicey quick. I'm the first person to love multiverse stuff. Everything Everywhere All at Once was my favorite film of last year.
It's amazing.
But I feel like it's just such a wild concept that people don't gravitate towards it as much. And I feel like that would hurt Stargate just as much. Because Star Wars has done a little bit of that. They were like, no, we got to stop. Star Trek, I guess, kind of did the whole Kelvin timeline and things like that. It doesn't have that big of a fan base after the fact. Of course, comics does great with multiverse stuff, but how hard is it to actually translate something that we read and conceptualize into, all right, let's make it a visual medium and entertaining and hit this, and this bullet point as well?
Well, you can argue Marvel are going down the multiverse route and it's not working.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm
confused. DC have been going down the multiverse route and really leaned into it, particularly with the Flash and what have you over the last few years. And hey, it got cool. We got to see Michael Keaton as Batman and things like that. But on the whole, it's confusing as hell. And I mean, it gives the writers the opportunity to do whatever they want, which is potentially good.
The Flash movie that's coming out is very much just an alternate, a multiversal story, because it's going to basically be Flashpoint from the comics, where he saves his mum from being killed, he creates Flashpoint, and then realizes he actually has to go back in time and kill his mum, or get.
But they did that in the series, though, didn't they?
Yeah,
they did do that. I was still watching the Flash when they did that. He tried to save it. I don't think he could. I don't think he did, though, did he? If I remember right. But I know you remember. I remember him created a Flashpoint.
Yeah. So the version of the Flash that goes back in time to save his mum, we've never met that version of the Flash. That version of the Flash is the original version, and then the new timeline now, where basically Harrison Wells was Eobard Thawne, is where we joined.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, if we had a movie then, right? Say they decide they're going to go cinematic, they're going to make a movie. What do we actually want to see? I know there's been loads of brilliant ideas, and I'm sorry, guys, I can't read the comments and listen to these two idiots at the same time. So, or think. But I know there's been some ideas bouncing around. What do you? Right, Matt, you hate this idea. You hate it. So, what do you want? This is when you speak. It is a verbal medium, mate. You can't.
I wasn't.
It's hard, isn't it? That's the thing. That's the problem. You've got any possibility.
If I was looking at it like this is what would make what I think would be entertaining, I'd want a compelling villain, maybe for someone from the past, like a villain that maybe hasn't had his the loose ends all wrapped up. Maybe that could return. Not Baal.
Rawr.
Oh, did you say Ra?
Rawr.
Yeah, not Ra, because he's dead.
Can't have Baal.
They're all dead.
Well. Baal's dead. Yep.
I don't know. I'd want
Anubis.
Anubis could come back.
He's not technically dead.
He's not. He's just in perpetual fighting with Omer Desala. But who's to say he didn't get the upper hand at some point? He could return, and that could be an interesting story. Then we could have some epic space battles. We know with how CGI is now. Like the battles we had in space on SG-1 to begin with were always really good. I really like them, but they could be so much better.
How about it's not Anubis doesn't necessarily return, but the movie is about his followers trying to free him, to get him to allow him to return. So the whole point is to stop the followers from doing whatever it is they're going to do to let him. So
they're all trying to ascend so they can go and fight Omer.
What? Where did you go to that? No, there could be a million ways they could bring
his followers. He's ascended. The only way that his followers would be able to interact with him or the person battling him would be for them to ascend.
They're building an Anubis magnet, and when they turn it on, it'll just suck his energy being to the magnet. Maybe something with a Stargate or something. I don't know. There'll be some ancient weapon or something that they go and find that allows them to kill Omer so that he can return or something like that.
The weapon from the Ark of Truth gets activated. It kills all the ascended beings, but somehow doesn't kill Anubis, and then he comes back.
There you go. See, we got there in the end, and nobody has to ascend. But again, yeah, why not?
The only thing that worries me with that is if you can't go multiverse immediately because it's too kind of timey-wimey mumbo jumbo for people to kind of comprehend, especially off the bat. Is ascendancy the best thing to start with? That's my only hesitation there because I love that idea, but
yeah,
is that just too much of a concept?
Something like it would be really easy to explain in the movie. You just say he was the worst of the worst. This guy was a bad man, and we defeated him. Done. 2 lines. You've explained that to anybody that didn't watch the series.
And Palpatine returned.
These followers are trying to find. I didn't catch that. Sorry, Harris.
I said, and Palpatine returned.
And then Palpatine turns up in his hood, in a hoodie. Do you know what? All these kids, all these teenagers wearing hoodies and doing like this, they're just all Star Wars fans. All those teenagers you see on the street.
I'm actually really, really liking this idea because I really want to see Anubis like now with like modern like effects because he was just a man in a massive like dressing gown like in the first one.
What would they even do? They have so many different cool ways that they could do that.
But
I hope they bring that guy in, the guy from the Astral Diner who played him. You know, the really smarmy guy. Like
I couldn't say his name. I talked about him in a video a couple of weeks ago, and I couldn't say his name. Zunza or something. Brilliant actor. I love him in everything he's in, but I couldn't say his name. I'd like to see as well. They do a film. I love it when they do films when, like, say the heroes lose. So I quite like those sort of films, and I'd love it if they fight and they think, and actually they fail. They have to do a small victory, don't they? They have to do it's like, either you save the kids or Anubis is released. So Anubis gets released, but we did save the kids. That type of thing. But I quite like it when the hero fails. And then that is a great way to slide straight into a series, because then they're looking for Anubis. And
You've got a
Anubis
goal.
is my
Mhm.
favorite villain. He was great.
So do an Infinity War and then slide into a TV series and close it off.
Yeah. Why not?
That could
You're
be
starting
good.
at the end a little bit. Well, you're not starting at the end because we've already battled Anubis loads of times. And then you bring in the evil Ewoks at some point, the Furlings. Come on. We've sorted this out for them. The amount of times we've sorted this out for fucking Amazon
To be
is so
fair,
easy.
if Anubis, like, because Anubis was super powerful, and we got lucky with defeating Anubis. We didn't actually do anything. It was Oma Desala. We got really lucky. If he came back, I could imagine they'd be like, yeah, well, we defeated you once before. And then they would, like, get really cocky about it. And then he'd actually come down and be like, nah. And just wipe shit. Like,
Yeah.
just kill
Just
everyone.
boxes.
And that would
Yeah, we
actually
got
be
lucky with
quite a good
Anubis.
movie, actually. I'd quite enjoy that.
If we don't get that, I want the space fantasy adventure movie with Jafar. If they fight the Furlings and then Eris Bach comes back because Sam Jones is still alive, we might as well use him.
Why not? And then, I don't know, then Ra turns up. And it's, I'm here!
All of the above. We've got a
why
trilogy for him.
And then Anubis just, like, wipes him out
not?
again. So you're supposed to be dead.
Who? And then Apophis pops up. I'm not dead. No, you've died several times. Bugger off.
No, because then if they do that, they'd have to do a really bad CGI Cliff Simon, and I don't want to see that.
No, that would be awful. Right, let me have a look. What is there? Right, so if you think of it from like the executive's point of view, then what do you actually think we're going to get if they do a movie first? I'll tell you what I think. I genuinely think we're going to get something along the lines of this. I don't think we'll get something that talks a lot about the series. I think it's going to be way more linked to the movie. And I hope they just do something really, really simple, because if they overcomplicate this, it's going to be a fucking clusterfuck. It'll just be a nightmare if they overdo this. If they're going to do a cinematic movie, which I hope they don't, but if they do, I just want a nice, simple action movie, something that people like, and then we can boom straight into the series that we'll actually enjoy, that the Gators will actually enjoy. I think, though, they will. That's what they'll do. They'll do something along the lines of this pitch. It'll be something like that we end up getting to see. What do you think?
I could see it. I don't want a formulaic, generic, just basic little action movie. I want something like that, but just not. I don't want the exact carbon copy of the film, just updated with better graphics and stuff. I mean, this all started with old Roland Emmerich back in the 90s, you know, and Independence Day was right after, and then just look how that sequel turned out. That's what I would worry, that they're going to try to just, because that's a simple, good little action movie. I don't know, good, it might be a little bit of a big word to put there, but that worries me just as much as it could be exciting.
Yeah, I want a spectacle though. I want an advert. I want a 2-hour advert for the for the new series. Stargate is back. I want a popcorn movie, and this is me, because I like to go to the cinema. I like to turn my brain off, and I like to go, ooh, that blew up lovely, and that's what I enjoy at the cinema. If I want a serious movie that I want to actually have to think about, then I'll watch that at home. I don't really go to the cinema to watch that. Like I say, there's no difference. I can watch it on my TV at home, and they'll have just as much of an impact. At the cinema, though, a big movie is cool. Big sounds. I want my eardrums to go as shit blows up. And that'd be cool. But I want a 90-minute, 2-hour exciting advert for what's coming next. I just think it's really, really risky.
I mean,
I think if we get,
they could bring it, they could do it and introduce a new villain.
Yeah,
like they could mention, 30 years ago we went through the gate to Abydos and we met the Goa'uld, and then we did all this crazy stuff. Now we got this new villain, and that would respect the TV show whilst pushing it forward, I think.
But With streaming services nowadays, though, do we need a movie? I would argue that the special effects and stuff we're getting in some of these a well-funded streaming service series of 10 episodes, 10 hours, $7 or $8 million an episode, is near cinema quality. Right? So, well, here's a question for you then, before we answer that. If we get a TV series, do you think we'll ever get a movie?
Oh, yeah. Possibly.
If they do a TV series first. See, I don't think so.
Possibly. I don't think it would be on the grand spectacle as if you did it first. It would be probably more of like an a higher budget kind of like Arc of Truth continuum, like they would direct to DVD, but obviously DVD's out. DVD doesn't exist anymore. Like it'll be a special episode kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think they'd do. It'd be considered a movie because of the length and the budget they put in, but it would more really just be a special episode.
I mean, though, a straight to cinema movie, a cinematic movie. I mean, Prime can do a movie. Prime can do a double episode and set it up like a movie anytime it wants. A cinema
don't think so,
movie.
Because they could have done that with the original Stargate series, but I think part of the reasons why they didn't is because of everything that happened before it. They couldn't just put a movie out to the cinema because no one would understand it. And I think if they do TV series first and then make a movie, it basically do the same sort of thing.
Yeah. What do you think, Harris? Like I say, a cinematic movie. If they do a TV series first, will we ever get a cinematic release?
Possibly. I'd like to say probably not in that big old spectacle kind of format, but why not? It kind of seems like, I mean, I got my Kyber crystal right next to my Stargate right here. So I kind of keep bringing back Star Wars into the fold, but the Clone Wars did do that kind of double, triple episode to start off a series and did release it cinematically. And then it wasn't all that much of a spectacle, but it did set up the reins for the series just to go on and do well. Now we don't know for sure, but of course, all these different shows that are coming on, Mandalorian, Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett, all these different spinoffs coming, it's seemingly so, at least, that they're working up towards a film to put all of the villains in, and Thrawn's going to be kind of like their Thanos in a way. I don't see why Stargate couldn't do something like that. But then it gets a little dicey, because are you going to have one series, or are you going to start a bunch of spinoffs again, which very well may lower the viewing rates of all the series together, and kind of they all have their own niches kind of deal.
Yeah.
It could go either way. You'd hope that, I don't know, I kind of feel like working up to a big spectacle movie would be better. But if you want to just get asses in seats and then get people to view the series right after, a big spectacle movie starting off would probably be the more producer executive oriented thing to do.
Yeah. So no, I've heard this rumor about a cinematic release a couple of times that Stargate would be considered, and the main reason I keep being told it is because Stargate is MGM's 10th highest grossing movie of all time. They made a crap load of money on that movie, and I get that, but it was also 30 years ago. So I don't.
They also didn't make it.
Well, yeah,
they bought it.
They didn't make it. It was Lionsgate, wasn't it? I think. And they sold it. Lionsgate thought, we're not going to make any money on this. Let's sell it. And MGM went, we'll give you 15 million quid. It then went on to take 150 million quid. So it did very well. The thing that I would argue is that if they go with a TV series, I don't think Stargate is big enough. I actually don't think Stargate will ever be the franchise that Star Trek is, because it's just not ingrained in culture the way Star Trek is. So... But don't get me wrong, it's my favorite show, and I think it's better than Star Trek. I wrote a thing on Nine Chevrons about how I think it's better than Star Trek. But I don't think it'll ever be as popular. I don't think it'll be far off, but not quite as popular. I don't see a cinema. I don't see they need to do a cinematic release. What they should do is do a series. If they want to put it on MGM Plus, put it on MGM Plus. I'll pay £5 a month to watch Stargate. I don't, I'll do that. I don't want to, but I will. And then, if you want to then do a movie, put it on Prime. They make enough other movies go straight to Prime.
Yeah,
So-
they did Borat straight to Prime. That did quite well.
Well, they do loads of movies go straight to Prime.
Yeah.
So do that. Don't do a cinematic movie. I think this rumor started about cinematic movie because Amazon want to do 4 or 5 cinema movies a year, and they're trying to figure out what to do. And some bright spark has gone, why don't we do Stargate? And then we can kick off. And that's, I think, generally what slowed everything down. I think we would have had the announcement months ago, except they're seriously thinking about this movie idea, and it slowed everything down. So now they're all like, oh, now we don't know what to do. And I think if they're going to do a movie, though, let Penguin and Parker do it. They're going to develop a TV series. We'll get a coherent story. Let's do something that then sets up a TV series that then we'll be excited about.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I agree. I don't think there should be multiple production companies, even if they were doing movies and TV. It should be one. So you've got a cohesive story. You need that tangibility. You need whatever happens in the movie to have existed in the series, and vice versa. So like how Marvel do it. You need that.
Yeah, you need one captain of the ship. I think 100%. And if that's Mark Fergus or whoever, I don't really care. And well, I do care because that's the most important person. But I've always thought that I don't really care to a point, to be fair, because I think the showrunner doesn't necessarily have to be the creative force behind it. Brad Wright was always the creative showrunner. He's almost like a bit of an old-fashioned showrunner, really.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Kurtzman gets all the shit for Star Trek, but actually he's not the creative force behind any of it. He's a manager. You know, Kevin Feige has never been a writer. He's never been an executive producer. He's never done this. He's a manager. He manages the thing. You know, he's the captain of the ship. He doesn't do the steering. Brad Wright was there doing the steering, doing the checking the stars for which way they're going, and and he did everything. Kevin Feige
steers. He steers a little bit. Feige steers a little bit. And he's executive producer.
No, a lot. I don't think he comes up with ideas. I think he says no a lot. I think he's like, somebody will come up with an idea, and I think he's quite good at going, no, we're not doing that. We're going this way. And I think
maybe people forget that he was a producer on every single Marvel film from Blade to Spider-Man, all the X-Men, all the way up until he knows everything about the comics.
No, he knows. Oh God, and he's the biggest nerd and thing. But I think he's a manager. I think he's in charge of making sure everything goes in the right direction. I don't think he's coming up with new ideas, but I think he's really brilliant at saying what's a bad idea. And he always thought he's really good at reining it in. If he's the guy in charge. Well, yeah. Well, look, I think with Taika Waititi, somebody was reining Taika Waititi in on Ragnarok, and I was wondering if maybe Kevin Feige or his team are there going, like pull back a little bit, that's a bit too far. But then Ragnarok was so popular, they went, okay, we trust you, and we got Love and Thunder.
Yeah,
and he went too far, And I wonder if Kevin Feige's there going, oh no, we should have been watching him. It's like we really should have checked. It's like,
I mean, you just made a good point because Feige was in charge of all that and was kind of the reins, and then Phase 4 happened, and he did take a step back. And I should know the 2 producers' names off of the top of my head, but he has a lady and a guy that are like his second in commands, really, and they were in charge of Phase 4, and
it's all gone to pot.
Yeah.
So we 100% need somebody in charge. We just don't want that to be J.J. Abrams.
Yeah, we need guidance. We just don't need the guidance of a bad reboot.
But say what, I don't think the main reason why I honestly don't think though that MGM are going to go this way or Amazon are going to go this way is because I honestly think Bad Robot are about to get sued by Warner Brothers for a lot of money, and I think it'll. I mean, like I say, they were 4 years into this 5-year deal that they've got with Warner Brothers, and they've produced nothing. And everything that they did have lined up, they had a Superman movie lined up. That ain't happening. They had 2 Batman cartoons happening. James Gunn hasn't mentioned them when he talked about everything that's being done. So it doesn't look like they're happening. I've heard rumor this week that they were doing a Speed Racer TV series, and apparently Apple aren't happy with it. So that might not be happening. So they're going to get to the end of 4 years into a 5-year deal, and they've produced nothing. And Warner Brothers, at some point, might just go, "You've breached your contract. You know, we gave you $250 million to produce TV and movie content, and you've done nothing." But also, everything they've pitched, Warner Brothers gone, "That's crap." And Amazon aren't stupid. They've got to be watching that and going, they've just lost. This isn't a new up-and-coming production company. This is a production company that has had a deal with Warner Brothers and has done nothing and wasted 5 years and $250 million. And I'm telling you what, right now, Amazon do not want to waste money. The last thing they want to do is waste money. So I don't think it'll happen. And I only think J.J. Abrams would get involved in a movie. I can understand why Bad Robot are pitching for this, because they're desperately looking for other work. This is why they pitched that Star Trek 4 movie and leaked it, that they were going to make Star Trek 4. And you know it was leaked because none of the actors knew. So they leaked it, trying to get a bit of momentum going. And then basically, Warner Brothers went, "You can't. You've got an exclusivity deal with us." And Paramount went, "You can't. We don't want to." And so it all of a sudden quietly went away. But I think it was. I think they thought the fans were going to go crazy. We'll announce it. The fans will go crazy, and then we'll get to make the film, and we'll get out of the Warner Brothers contract, and we'll get to make the film, and then maybe we'll get to make Stargate. And it just blew up in their faces. So I don't think we need a movie. I think a TV series and then a straight to Amazon Prime is much safer, and I think much better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
It's something the fans will appreciate more.
It's
we
more
can dive back into
logical. Yeah, more logical, more likely as well. So yeah, so that's where we're at really. So the Bad Robot thing, look, we share it because I learned about it and it scared us all to death, but I don't think it's going to happen anyway.
Hopefully not.
And we're keeping Matt up. Is Matt sleepy?
I am. I'm quite tired. Yeah.
It's 10 a.m. What are you talking about?
It's not 10 a.m. here. I've got work tomorrow.
Oh, bloody hell. Anyway, before we close up for the day, guys, get in the comments if there's anything else you wanted to mention. We'll just run our normal promos again. 1 second. Here are the adverts.
9chevrons.com. 9chevrons.com is your dedicated source for Stargate news, which will aim to complement this YouTube channel with news that we have from our contacts at MGM and Amazon, breaking news about a new potential Stargate series, as well as providing reviews and any potential updates to news stories that we break. Check out some of the news articles that we have already at 9chevrons.com. Sci-trek also has some amazing merch. Get yours today and show your support at sci-trek.com.
Guys, if you got any comments or any questions you got before we head off, then that would be great. Let's just have a quick look. Guys, have you got anything you wanted to bring up before we disappear? I'm just scanning
nothing
the
that I can think of.
Stargate animated idea. Do we like that idea about doing a sort of a Lower Decks type of series?
Lower Decks. Psh, what have I referenced like 3 or 4 times already? Give us Stargate: The Clone Wars. I'm ready.
I thought you were going to say Futurama. Let's do a Futurama.
I thought you were going to say Futurama.
I was literally just trying to think of a Futurama joke like 20 seconds ago. I couldn't think of one, so I was like, okay, stay quiet for a second.
Yeah, I think so. Ambrose has been on today. If we haven't had an announcement by, I'm going to say May 1st. If we haven't had something announced by May 1st, I think we won't get Stargate until 4 or 5 years down the line. I don't think he'll be far off. And it'll be a hard reboot.
Yeah.
It'll be a hard reboot.
Well, at that point, would Amazon still own the rights? of course they own MGM, but did the rights for the, I guess, IP kind of lapse at that point?
No, MGM own Stargate rights. They own it flat. I think it'd be like 99 years.
Oh wow.
So as far as I know, it's not, because it wasn't a distribution deal. They bought the deal. They bought it. So, but yeah, I think he's probably not a million miles away there. I honestly, I did a video a little while ago, didn't I, called Stargate Now or Never, and it's not never. I think Stargate will come back at some point. It's too big a thing. It was streaming #1 on Twitter again this week, trending #1 in the US and Canada. But I think if it doesn't happen now, it will be a hard reboot because too long will have gone by.
At that point, it would have to. The original cast is too old. The whole SG-1 cast is almost too old at that point.
Yeah,
not really. We're getting there.
We're getting a soft reboot anyway, mate. I don't think we'll get many of the cast come back anyway. We might get some cameos. We might get one back, but
the only way to logically have the old cast come back would be in senior roles, like general or like advisors or things like that. Anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the only way it's going to come back. I mean, Amanda Tapping could come back. Michael Shanks could come back. They're still young enough. Ben Bowder could come back. Teal could come back. No bother. You know, a lot of these actors. RDA is not going to come back in a main role. He's old. He's mid-70s. So I mean, but it's going to be a soft reboot anyway. It's just whether they do. I just think the more time goes by, the more likely it's going to be a hard reboot. And that's just the truth. Sad, but it's the truth. And it is the sleeping giant of sci-fi. It'll happen at some point.
So I guess we have just talked about SG-1, but SGA was pretty popular also. Could they come back and do a Momoa Ronin movie with a couple other people? Of course, I haven't finished SGA, so I don't know exactly what happens per se, but
a Ronin movie would be cool.
I said it before. Ronan, before he joined Atlantis, would be a really interesting story. Like him as a runner would be a fantastic story.
The only thing there is Jason Momoa be demuscled for that.
You'd leave him. You see him leave. What's his planet called? Is it Satida? Something like that. You see him leave the planet because it's a war, and then you'd see him running because he's got the tracker in his back and how that like plays out. And then maybe you'd see him, like you'd see a glimpse of, now they're gonna go into SGA.
I like that. It'd be fun. The only thing is Jason Momoa is twice the size he was then. He'd have to stop.
I think he'd want to do it though. He seems to be still good friends with people from Atlantis. He mentions it quite a lot in interviews and things. You know, it's. I think they could get. I think they could get him to do a cinematic movie, and people would watch it. Actually, to be fair, that would be a brilliant way of getting back into Stargate because people would go and watch a Jason Momoa movie, and then they're like, "Oh, it's a Stargate film," and the fact that it's Stargate would be secondary. So if I
would call it just Ronin or Dex, something like that.
Yeah, so that'd be cool.
It's not Stargate Ronin or Stargate. Like you just call it Dex, like how X-Men did with Logan.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that'd be. It's like a backdoor reboot.
Yeah, I mean that might honestly be like the bridge of the gap. I've said it before already to this hour, but it bridged the gap between a lot, and he's big enough. I mean, and obviously with all the DC stuff going on, he's going to get Aquaman 2. Aquaman made $1.2 billion, mostly on him alone. And then Aquaman 2, I don't think it'll make that much, but it should probably make $500, $600, $700, $800 million. Nothing to scoff at by any means. And James Gunn did say, well, we're leaving the door open for Aquaman 3 to finish the trilogy, but that's just, I hope he doesn't do that because that's just going to piss off so many different people because it makes it confusing at that point. Is it a soft reboot? Is it not? Is it a hard reboot with some soft reboot aspects to it? Those questions are already there, and that would middle those questions out even more. So give him Aquaman 2, and if he really wants to make another Atlantis-based something, we got Stargate. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be 10 years until we get Aquaman 3. Anyway, with everything they've announced, if they do an Aquaman 3, it's going to be a million miles away, and I don't think they will.
It took them.
I don't see how they can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's talking about bringing the franchise together, the DC franchise together, and getting it to make sense. If you're going to do that, you've got to cut off at some point. And I know they're bringing the Flash, and we've got Blue Beetle, which is a new character. So that's fine, and Aquaman 2, but then after that, bringing Wonder Woman back, Gal Gadot. No, we're going to have a new Batman again, another new Batman, another new Superman. No, I can't see them. Well, I suppose they're cherry picking the bits they like from the Snyderverse and ignoring the bits they don't, and
that's just going to piss people off. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, 100%. Right, guys, thank you so much. We've had a brilliant conversation as always, and thanks everybody in the comments. You've kept us going as always. I'll go back through and read them all because I saw some really good story ideas, and I just, when you see something caught your eye, and I'm like, I can't read that because I'll lose my train of thought, but I'll go back and read them now. Next week we are doing the top 5 sci-fi movies of all time, and it's got to be proper sci-fi movies. None of this like, oh, it's a horror movie, really. Sci-fi movies. All right. So top 5 of all time. Good luck with that. I've already had a hell of a time. And I wrote down Spaceballs every single time, and they went, damn it. Can't have it.
Futurama, the movie?
You can't have it. It's a comedy.
They don't have one. No.
Spaceballs is primarily a comedy.
Yeah.
Damn it. So I think we're going to have some arguments, and we'll hopefully, fingers crossed, Stormy will be back. But he's working hard, bless him, at the moment, building spaceships. So let's see what happens.
He's the true sci-fi guy.
Oh, yes. And he'll come up with some great, but we'll get his selections anyway. But guys, once again, thank you so much. We will see you next week. Everybody, bye-bye now.
See you later.
Say bye-bye.
Yeah.